I wish I had 5D videos so y'all could have smelled it, and it was just amazing. Hey y'all, it's Mad Wine Chemist. Today we're in Brookshire, Texas at Shire Distillery. This family-owned and operated business was founded by Father George, Mother Lynn, and son Tim. Tim, the Master Distiller, will be taking us on a tour and guided tasting.
Hey, how's it going? Follow me out here, we're going to show you the distillery. So, out here, we are a family-owned and operated distillery. This is Shire Distilling. Me, my father, my mother, we started this out back in 2017, and this is our operations area. When we first started out, if you look right up here behind you, you see this little copper still? That's a 50-gallon still. That's what we initially began operations on. And then when demand started increasing, it was very hard to keep up on a still that size. So we knew we had to scale things up. That's when we started doing our research and looked into ordering this process-controlled 600-gallon still house. The system here took almost a year to manufacture, and then it took another 6 months for it to show up at our door and get operational. Follow me this way. We'll get right over here. This very first unit, that's our steam boiler. Steam boiler is how we heat everything up. The steam fired system is very efficient and it's very safe. What would normally take us upwards of 2.5 hours to heat up that little 50-gallon still, we can now heat up an entire 600-gallon batch to operating temperature in less than an hour with this steam boiler here. Next down the line, we got our very first tank, which is our Mash Tun, 600-gallon vessel. In here, this is where we're adding approximately 1,200 pounds of grain, and then the rest will be water. We're breaking down that grain, we're liquefying it, we're wanting to convert all the starches over to sugars. The sugar is what we're after because that's eventually going to become our alcohol. So we dedicate 1 day towards fermentation. We liquefy our grain. By the time we're done, it'll look kind of like a milkshake in there, but like a very thin milkshake. This little guy right here, this is our cart pump. This is how we transfer from one vessel to the next. We simply hook up hoses on the port down at the bottom, kick the pump on. So we'll go from this little port right here to the pump, from the pump to the next tank, and we'll fill the next tank from the bottom up. That entire 600-gallon batch, grain, liquid, and all, every little bit of it, will be transferred over to our fermenter. This little pump has some power to it. It takes no more than 10 minutes to transfer every bit over. These next two vessels, these are identical. They are both called fermenters. The fermenters are where fermentation occurs. The way we do it is we'll make a 600-gallon mash, we'll pump it over this first fermenter, then we make another 600-gallon mash and we'll pump it in this fermenter. And then we'll actually do a third one. We do a third 600-gallon mash and we ferment in place. So we'll have 3 600-gallon batches going all at the same time, which is a total of 1,800 gallons. Fermentation, where we're creating the alcohol, we're simply opening the hatch up top, we're adding yeast to the vessel, and that yeast is going to go through that entire batch and find all those sugars, convert the sugars over to alcohol. 1 day for mashing, approximately 5 days for fermentation. This is what's called a tube-in-tube chiller. All it does is it allows us to cool down our mash. At the beginning of the process, it allows us to cool it down a lot quicker. We have this box right here and the tank just beyond it. Those work together as what's called a Glycol chilling system. Just like how that boiler heats everything up, the Glycol chiller cools everything down. Quite simply, think of this as a giant AC unit. Instead of cooling down the air though, it is cooling down liquid that is inside of this tank. Now next in line is our still. That's where we'll take one of our 600-gallon batches that we just finished fermenting. We pump all of it over into the still here. This system is what we refer to as a hybrid still. We have the copper helmet up top for pot distillation, and then we also have the rectifying column for creating higher proof distilled spirits. Also in line, we have a gin basket. We don't currently have a gin, but we do have future plans of making a gin. So we definitely, when we special ordered this system, we got it set up to where it can make all the different types of products we want to make on the still. All 600 gallons enters the still, and then the way it works is it's all based on boiling points. You ever take a pot of water, you put it on the stove, and you start heating it up. When that water gets to 212 degrees, it has now reached boiling. That water is going to start turning from a liquid to a gas, and that gas is going to rise off. If you let it boil long enough, you'll eventually have no more water in that pot. So water, 212. Alcohol, 173. So by utilizing boiling points, if we heat up our still, there's alcohol in here. If we get above 173, but stay below 212, we stay within that temperature window, we're going to cause the alcohol to actually boil off. It's going to turn from a liquid to a gas, and that gas is going to rise up through the still. The water and the grain, the stuff that we do not want, is actually going to stay within the pot itself. Copper is utilized for pulling the sulfites out of your alcohol vapor, so when we distill, you notice how there's only copper on the top half here. From here down, we're a liquid. We don't necessarily need the copper, but once the alcohol turns to a vapor, that's where you want that copper interaction. Pull the sulfites out, those are what will give you the headaches, some off flavors. It'll create a less premium spirit. So you don't necessarily need copper to make a distilled spirit, but if you want to make a good one, you want to have copper within your system. So as our alcohol vapor rises up through the whiskey helmet, we get to the very top where we got these 4 blue valves up there. Those are 3-way valves that allow us to redirect the alcohol vapor, all based on what we're trying to make. We can send our alcohol to the gin basket, make it pass through there, and that's how we create a gin. Quite simply, the way it works is we fill that basket up with our botanicals. The botanicals, think of those as like your juniper berries, your citrus peels, whatever unique recipe you have. You fill all those botanicals inside of there, and your vapor will simply pass right through, and it'll pull the flavors of those botanicals. Right now we don't have a gin, so we completely bypass that. We go right past it to this very next unit, which is this copper column. Looks like a giant music instrument. That is for creating a higher proof spirit. So it's a rectifying column. What it's doing is, inside of there, we have 5 plates. These are called bubble plates. So there's 6 windows on the front. In between each window is a plate. Those plates, think of them as like a giant filter. When we distill and our alcohol is boiling off of the pot, it is not 100% pure alcohol. There's water that gets dragged along with it as well. It's alcohol and water. When we redirect it through that column right there, that column is actually going to filter out, it's going to pull out any of the water and give us a higher proof spirit. So by the time we pass all the way through there and exit out of the top, our alcohol vapor it's much higher proof now. So that's more so utilized for creating high proof spirits. For what we're doing, all the whiskeys that we make up here, we actually do not utilize the column at all. When we make our whiskeys, we're strictly doing pot distillation. So we go from the pot, boil off, shoot all the way across, and go to our condenser with the alcohol vapor. We're not pulling any flavor, any water, any of that out of our product. We're leaving it full flavored. We've come to like the pot distillation method for creating our whiskeys. So we do 2 pot distillation runs. The first one is what we call a stripping run. That's where we're just collecting a lot of our alcohols, but we still have a lot of water, a lot of stuff that we don't want mixed in with it. It's called our low wines. After we've done our stripping runs, everything that we've collected from those, we actually take it all and put it back into the still, and then we do a second distillation, which is called our spirit run. The spirit run is where you're doing a nice lower temperature, a slow distillation. That's where you make what's called your cuts. You got different parts of alcohol that are coming off your still. You got your foreshots, your heads, your hearts, and your tails. You make your cuts, you collect your good alcohol, which is the hearts portion, and where that'll be collected is all the way down here. So you see this rolling tank right here? These are what we use as our collection vessels. We just simply roll it right over here. We'll have a parrot coming off of the still. The parrot is just a way for us to check the proof as it comes off on the fly. So all our product will flow into our collection tank, and that's where we're collecting the final product. So in this unit here, this is called a condenser. We start out as a liquid, we boil it to a gas, and then we gotta cool it back down again to become a liquid. Once it becomes a liquid, gravity will play its course. That liquid's going to flow right into our collection vessel. So in essence, what we've done is we've gone from a liquid to a gas back to a liquid. And that's how we separate the alcohol from that 600-gallon batch. Yeah, me and my dad, we've always been hobby-level beer makers. He's been doing it for over 20 years. I've been doing it for about 10 plus. And we just took our beer making to the next level. The distilling world and the beer making world are very similar. You're basically making a beer, and then you're distilling it. And then what you get from that will be your distilled spirit. So with an automation background and with beer making background, we decided to combine our skills to create this business. Started very small. We were on a 50-gallon still, running operations every day right after work. We were working our full-time jobs. Right after that, we'd drive over here, fire up the still, and do a distillation run. And it was like that for the first year and a half. My dad still works his full-time job, but me, I ended up quitting mine to put all my efforts strictly into the distillery. So now I am here all day, every day, doing some form of something, whether it's cleaning floors or making whiskey. I'm doing it. We're all over the place. We got to be out marketing. We have a bottling line. We got to make sure we're running that bottling line. So there's always some form of operations and something to be done up here.
Okay. We're going to try some liquor made by Shire Distillery today, everyone. Tim here is going to guide us through it. And then one of the main things is some of these you can buy in your local stores in the area in Houston, or just Texas. Is it Texas or Houston?
Texas. So Total Wine, we're in Total Wine across the state of Texas, all 36 locations. And then Specs, you can also find us in Specs, more so the Houston and surrounding areas, but we are in Specs across the state of Texas as well. If you ever come across a liquor store or anything that does not have our product and you want them to start carrying it, say they live, or y'all live real close to the store, just let them know. Tell them, you really like the Shire Fire. Tell them you like the Shire Percheron. What can they do to get it in that store? And that not only does it get it near you, but it tremendously helps us out as well. The more places we get our product into, the more people that find out about us, so we can share our spirits with the world.
So, like Tim is saying, help grow a local business. If there is a liquor store anywhere near you that you want to carry this line of liquor, go ahead and ask them and let them know to contact Shire Distillery. Look them up there on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, correct?
Exactly. Any of the social media platforms, you can find us on there. At any time, if you ever want to call any of us, call the distillery. It'll go to one of us up here, and any questions you have, anything at all, we'll get you taken care of, get everything handled.
All right, now let's get on to the fun part. What are we trying first?
So right here.
What am I trying first?
Yeah. Well, I've tried these many times, but I have no argument with trying them again. But what we got here is this is our flight of our we classify these as our core spirits. So going in order from lightest to darkest, we work our way down the line from the most neutral product to the most flavor saturated product. So starting out first, we got Shire Ice, which is our vodka. As previously mentioned, we are predominantly a whiskey distillery, but we do want to have variety out there. So Shire Ice, very clean, very neutral vodka. The goal with the vodka is neutrality. You don't want to have any burn, you don't want to have any off flavors. You want a lot of nothing going on in your product. That's about it with a vodka. You want it to be as neutral as possible. So this here, very clean distilled spirit.
Yes, it has a very, very clean taste. Not a lot of bite. And I myself am not a big liquor fan, so I can drink Shire Ice, I'll tell you that.
Now next in line after the vodka, we got Shine. Shine is a unaged whiskey. So whenever you make a whiskey, when it first comes off your distillation equipment, it's clear in color. What'll actually add color to your product is when you start going into the barrel. You have oak interaction. But Shine is a unaged whiskey. The grain that we're using on that are corn, rye, and barley. So the corn is going to add a bit of a sweetness to it, and the rye will add more of a spice to your product, more of a peppery note. But with a Shine, you're tasting the flavors of the grain. You're not tasting any of the flavors of the oak interaction just yet. So yeah. And then next in line, we got the Shire Oak.
And excuse us, he's open for operation, and we run our interview over a little bit. We get to talking too much because we know each other. we have a similar background. I started my winery with my family. Tim started his distillery with his family, and we're two close families that have been hustling together for the last 2 years. So we're gonna try Shire Oak. Ooh.
So Shire Oak is what we're doing is we're taking that shine and we're aging it out in a standard size 53-gallon American oak barrel. The oak interaction time is anywhere between 1.5 to 2 years. As time progresses and the distillery grows older and older, the product will also grow in age. So Shire Oak interaction, char level 3 barrels. You get a good flavor, a good color from the interaction, and then you still have those underlying flavors from the grain itself, like what was tasted on the Shire Shine. Next down the line, we have Shire Percheron. Percheron is, think of taking our Shire Oak one step further. We are finishing the product on a toasted French oak. So Shire Oak finished on toasted French oak equals Percheron. The French oak just adds more variety to the more flavor profile to the product. You get a little bit of a darker color. It has a slightly higher proof so the Percheron is at 46% alcohol, and you get a more diverse bouquet of aromas and flavors from interaction with two different oaks.
Now I have this liquor here and me have a special connection because we use the barrels from the Percheron to make the limited edition wine at Irma Rose Winery, the 1958. And that was my first barrel-aged wine, and I dedicated it to my father. So I always keep a bottle of Percheron at the house.
Definitely, it's a great product, and it makes the Percheron combined with the Irma Rose wine makes an awesome product as well.
All right.
So next down the line, we got Shire Fire. Shire Fire is our version of a cinnamon whiskey. It's nothing like a lot of your big brands that are loaded down with sugar, artificial flavors and colors. It's the way we came up with our recipe was doing everything opposite of the big brands. So Shire Fire, everything's all natural. We use cinnamon sticks from Indonesia. We use a blend of 3 different red peppers, and then we use a very, very minimal amount of sugar. So it creates a very clean, top-shelf cinnamon whiskey. Nothing artificial goes into it. And it derives from our Shire Shine. So we're using a true bourbon mash as the base of this product here. It's not a liqueur or anything that's not a whiskey. So
it has a strong cinnamon presence and then a little bit of spice on the back end. It's really great. I was here the other day where we were prepping for this interview and video, and Tim was making a batch of this Shire Fire, and it smelled so good while he was making it. You guys, I wish I had 5D video so y'all could have smelled it, and it was just amazing. You have to be here. You have to come on out to Shire Distillery. That'll conclude our video for the day, but check them out. I'm gonna put a link in the bio, and then there will be some click here, click there's for you to check them out. Come out. They have a Groupon. You can go and get a tour and a tasting. And again, thank you, Tim, for showing me around. Thank you, Miss Lynn. It was nice seeing you again and again. Check out Shire Distillery and see you guys later.
Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate having me out.
Thank you.